I'm going to start with a new file, and I'm just going to make it any size, and I'm going to place something that I want to trace. So I'll probably need to have my layers panel, and I'm going to go window, and I'm going to go to layers, and the first thing I'll do is place the thing that I want to trace on. So I will do that, file, place, and I have assorted things that would be helpful for tracing. I had one out here in particular. Well, it really doesn't matter so much what I trace, but let's just go into the images folder, get us something here. Sure, no problem. Getting it? Want some help? No worries. Let's do that. There you go. Should be a set now. All right, so I'm going to just open this image up. It's a face. And I'm going to click and drag to get a nice large image on my screen, and I want to trace it in Illustrator. This could be anything, but I'm just going to give you an idea how to get started. So this layer here is now going to be its own layer. I'm going to call it scan or image, scan of image, let's say. All right, now that's its own layer, and I'm going to add a brand new layer. Click, there's the new layer, and I'm going to come back to this layer and show you a strange, interesting feature that Illustrator has, which is this check mark box here called Dim Images To. When you click it and you click OK, it'll actually dim the image to whatever percentage, the default being 50. So it becomes softer and easier to look at and not so overpowering. And now we're going to talk about some different tracing techniques, or basically vector drawing techniques. So I'm going to lock the scan of image layer, and now I'm going to create, let's say I wanted to trace this using just 3 colors, so I'll call this one bottom for lack of a better name. So all the shapes that are going to go on the bottom of the thing will go here. And I will start with this feather shape, and I'm going to make fairly quick work of this, although in some cases I will give you a little more detail. So starting with the pen tool here and beginning with one of these, I'm going to just draw one. So here we go. I'm going to draw 1 with the pen tool, 2, 3, a little point across here, 4, 5, 6, there's a basic shape. Okay, so all of these shapes are great, but maybe I know that eventually I want to bring this into Photoshop to color it, or just the way I like to draw might include wanting to build things up from back to front, which is a very common way that I like to draw, from back to front. So I will make this a different color, like a medium gray. And then, of course, I'm going to need all of these shapes all around here. So that is copy, Command C, paste, Command F, so it's right in front of it. I'm going to move it over so that the back tip of where I think the center back tip of that feather shape is on the right spot. And then again, I'm going to use that same idea that we used with scale to rotate from a specific spot. So I'm going to click here where I want it to stick. 1 click there, and then drag and rotate based on that 1 point. That's pretty well lined up. I'll do it again here. So I'll take another one, and again I can option drag. That's another way of copying. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this point to where I think it really needs to be. But then I want to rotate, so I'm going to go Rotate Tool and click on the point that's in the right spot and rotate the rest of the shape based on that 1 point staying in the right spot. Okay? That's a helpful thing to know in Illustrator. And so I would go ahead and do all of those. I'm not going to do this entire drawing, as I said. I'm just going to do some of it so you have some ideas of what to do. And here's what happened if I just kind of freeform rotated. I like rotated a few times. All right, I was lucky. I got it pretty close. But that was just, sheer luck. All right. So then I would probably proceed to drawing another more complex part. In this case, I'm going to do it with the pen tool. And here we go. I'm going to click at the bottom of this shoulder, and then I'm going to click towards above that point a little, and I'm going to move over up to the top slope, and I'm going to drag a little, and that's going to make a curve here. The dragging makes the curve. You can see the line wants to continue to curve, so if I click here and drag up, I have a pretty close fit to the curve, and then here I'll click and drag again. And now I'm going to see that I have some issues. If I want to go across, it's not going to be right. If I want to go up, it's not going to be right. So I have to do a thing which is called change direction. In life, it's easy to do. You just think, I want to change direction. In Illustrator, not as easy. So here, what I'm going to do is, it's so weird, but I'm going to press the Option key, okay? It's pressed now. And you can see that the line went away. The line I was drawing, even though I'm on the pen tool, I press the Option key and the line goes away. Then if I click right on that point, Gesundheit, and then I let go of the Option key and I drag out, what I'm dragging is the new direction for the line to go. I am changing directions. I want it to go, instead of this way, it was going that way, I want it to go this way. So now, ooh, look how perfectly that's fitting. That's, again, just some luck there. Click, and here I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to click and drag to here, and maybe one more point in the center. And then I'm going to come straight down. I think I clicked. Did not click. Hold the Shift key and click again. Come across, and now I have one shape. Okay, obviously half the head. Some people showed me in some of their work that they didn't think some of their lines were as smooth as they should be. Well, one thing you can do to adjust your line is to come back with the sub-selection tool, click on the points, and find the direction handles. Those are the tips that kind of jet out from the actual point, and so you can adjust the handles, left, right, up, down, etc. Let it go. Okay. And another thing you can do to smooth a line is to go into the pencil tool and get this thing called the smooth tool. And if you take the smooth tool and you just sort of run it along the contour of a path, it actually will smooth it. It's pretty insane. That is the smooth tool. Next, what I want to do is I want the second half of this artwork to look exactly the same as the first, so I get to reflect again. Here is the shape that I want to reflect. Here is, under the rotate tool, the reflect tool. And again, I'm going to click at the top. I'm going to let it overlap a little. So I'm going to move a little bit to the left of that side, click once, come down to the bottom, hold the Shift and the Option, and click again. And now I have the other side. It reflected and copied, Shift and Option. Right? Again, that's because I'm pressing the keys, Option, and it's doing a perfect job because of the shift. So reflect, single click, come down towards the bottom, Shift and Option, or if you're on a PC, Shift and Alt at the same time, and click again. Now these are two shapes, which is wonderful. Now I'm going to click one shape with the Move tool, over here to the Move tool, hold the Shift key, click on the other side of this, and I'm going to make this one piece. I do not want it to stay two pieces, just because it's better as one piece. So under Object, another way I can get to Pathfinders is to go to Path, and you can see here that I can get to some of these things like Join, Average, Simplify, but I can also go to Join is really not what I want. So it's nice that these things are here, but they're really not all of the tools that you need. The tools that you need to do what you need to do, which is Pathfinder, are under the Window menu, and here they are, Pathfinder. And now I'm going to do Merge. Now that's truly one shape. It is no longer two halves, it is now one. I'll undo it, they're both selected, and here's the tool right there. It's tiny, I'm sorry, but it's right in the middle on the bottom. That's the Merge. Boom! That's one piece now. Got rid of the overlap. It just basically rewrote the shape
Is it the same tool as the circle with the triangle there on the left side?
This one here is actually called Unite, and it does pretty much the same thing.
No, on the far left. On the
this one.
there. On your toolbar?
On my toolbar.
Underneath the pencil? Like
underneath the pencil?
Yeah.
Here?
Like 2 icons below? Or 3 icons
this?
below? Or one below that?
One below that.
Yeah,
that's a blob brush. Shape Builder, Live Paint, and Shape Builder, or I often call that the blob brush, but it's not the blob brush. The blob brush is actually
What's
that.
What's the difference between the Shape Builder and the Pathfinder?
The Shape Builder is kind of weird. I don't do a lot with the Shape Builder. If you select the Shape Builder here, you've got, oops, sorry, wrong one. You've got these tools that are actually used for a type of painting, a different type of drawing, or it's more like painting, called live shapes. Very different way of coloring and drawing in Illustrator. I kind of want to save it because it could be sort of confusing right now, but it is a really interesting technique. Let's make it a separate tutorial. It's a great question and I will answer it. I just think it's going to be a little odd to do it in this tutorial. So we're going to bring it back in a few minutes. All right, so now we're just going to pretend all these other shapes are built and I love everything just the way it is. It's awesome. And I'm not really trying to do a perfect tracing. I'm just doing something very similar to what I have below. Now what's beautiful about this is that you can then hide this layer and show it to see what you want to do next. Okay, hide and show. And then here's another important tip. I am going to, even though I said, you know, these shapes really were going to be only on one layer, they are, but I'm going to have a similar shape based on these on the next layer up. So I'm going to copy these shapes that are selected from bottom right here, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer middle. You might want to name it other things than bottom, middle, and top. You might want to name it like base, large details, small details, outlines. It's something that's going to make sense to you. But with this middle selected, and now I'm going to lock the bottom, it's very important that I locked it. I'm going to do selecting on middle, edit, paste in front again. Really doesn't look like anything has changed except for that you see now those objects are there on that layer. And what I'm thinking about here is how to use this as a highlight to the other things. So here's a kind of a crazy, more tips in Illustrator. This isn't the only ways to do things. These are just some things I think you would want to know. So on these feather shapes, I'm going to use the pen with the minus tool, and that's going to remove a point from each one of these. And I'm going to just do that here and change this color. So I have a lighter gray on top of that. So that's my kind of highlight on that feather. And essentially, I am only allowed to select the one on the middle layer because the other layer is locked. So that's good. And now remove a point and remove a point, eye for eyedrop, and pick the color. And I would do that for all the rest of these shapes, which I'm not going to do because you don't need to see that. You can watch this tutorial. Now on the head part, I'm thinking about how I might want to color this. So I'm going to look again at the original. And now I'm thinking I want to create an interesting shape that includes the top of the head, forehead, and the nose. So here's a very interesting way of deriving that from here. I could use the Pathfinders, but I could also try using the eraser tool, which I don't get enough chances to use, and it's a really cool tool. So I wanted to try it here. So with this top layer selected, I'm going to press I and pick up this gray for the top layer. And then when I switch to the eraser tool uses the bracket on the right. If you look at your keyboard, if you have a computer in front of you, to the right of the letter P are two brackets. The left bracket and the right bracket, also the same keys as the curly brace. So if I make a circle, let's say that size, and I lay the middle point of the circle on the edge of the head and click once, I will have now erased, starting to look like an alien. And I'm going to move my brush kind of straight across as I can and click again. So what I've erased is part of the lighter gray top of the artwork. And now I'm going to go further with that. I'm going to actually erase a little further in, kind of just guessing here, eyeballing it. And of course, I've practiced this, before today, so I'm kind of comfortable doing it, but it does take a little practice, and I'm going to erase, let's say, making the brush smaller here. I'm going to erase in a sort of a curve motion. See how well I can do that? And there's the nose. And I want to have, let's say, half of this have a highlight. So I'll just erase down, straight down, and I'll go over like that. Kind of interesting, right? Maybe I want this really erased more. So the only thing I can erase is anything that's selected, because only things that are allowed selected are what's on the middle, because the rest of the layers are locked. And here's that smooth tool again. So I can run that smooth tool on this line, and it will simplify this line. If I'm not happy with those results, I can use the pen or delete anchor point, or the pen with the minus tool to remove a point. I'm excited about this. Okay. And then maybe I want some ovals here. I'm just going to guess here on some oval 1. And then, right, I can Option Shift drag oval 2. And now I'm going to create another layer. So here it comes. I'm going to create a brand new layer, and I'll call this, for the time being, I'll just call that top. And on the top layer, I'm going to put the eye layer and the top of the head. Copy, select the top layer, and do Edit, Paste in Front. This is important to use Paste in Front because it makes everything aligned. Everything is still the same color as it was on the middle layer. I'll lock the middle layer, and then you can see here on the top layer, this piece. Hey, I didn't paste it in the right place. I didn't paste it in the right place at all. I'm going to cut it, click on the top layer, make sure I have actually clicked on the top layer, and now paste in front. Edit, paste in front. I did not click the layer before, and now I did. So now I can hide, lock, and you can see that these are the elements I have left, and select, select, select. And of course, I'm just using grayscale as a way to get started, and just a lighter gray now. And same thing again. If I turn the layer on underneath it now, and I use the eraser tool, remember these 3 layers are locked. The top layer is the selected one. And if I use the circle tool here, I can create some odd effects. Unfortunately, the eraser, not circle tool, only lets you do a circle. It would be really great if you could make ellipse and other shapes to erase from, but you can't. So I can just kind of try to run that across. There's an eyelid. Oops, I erased some of the nose inadvertently. And so you can see that after a while, this could be a tricky method unless you're super careful. That's okay. That might not be exactly what I want, but it'll do for the demonstration. And maybe I want this to have a lot less highlight on it, and I just really want it to be highlighted on the right side, like that. And then again, I probably need to make this brush smaller and bring this down. This is an eraser. It's like a brush. So, my friends, you've got the pathfinders to do union, minus front, and minus back. If I wanted to, let's say, create a unique shape, like a cutout from this, that's a perfect circle, or an ellipse, rather. Here I can draw an ellipse. I need to unlock the middle layer. Please check this out. Hold the Shift key down to select this chest piece, and I'm looking for minus front. So the ellipse is in front of the chest piece, and when I click on this button, it makes a hole in the chest piece. That's minus front. Minus front and this one, merge, are probably the ones you're going to want to use most.
So why use those layers instead of just piling everything on the same layer?
because if I wanted to bring this into Photoshop, I would actually need these to be separate layers if I wanted to paint it in Photoshop. And also it's a nicer, easier way to organize my work so that if I want to select something on a certain layer, I'm not in danger of clicking the wrong thing. I can only select the things that are on that layer. Helps you keep organized. Especially helpful if you're going to share this work with someone else that's also going to work on it. They could easily see what you put on each layer and find how to find the piece that they need to make the change without as much guesswork. And so right now, this is what it looks like without the background. That's as much as I have done. And then I can turn the background on. When I'm all done with the background, I can lock all the other layers, right? And the background layer is unlocked. I'll click that layer. I'll click on the object that I'm tracing and press the delete key. And there's my drawing. Yes, it's going to take practice. There are a lot of other tutorials besides the ones I've made on tracing with the pen tools or drawing with the pen tools that you can watch, but these are some of my favorite tricks and what I think is a way to ease the process without having to draw everything so perfectly. Right, any other questions on pen and drawing and tracing? All right, so I'm going to stop that recording.